Hello everyone, today I'm now going to teach you about clipping masks. Clipping masks is a cool technique that we can do to kind of essentially replace certain areas that we want to in our image and kind of lock them to a specific area. So to show you what I mean, I'm going to be taking the sunglasses part of my figure and I'm going to be replacing them with an image of jellyfish. So you can see kind of in there, whoops. You can see in here that I've taken these jellyfish and they're just kind of locked into where my sunglasses are. And I will show you how to do that today. So you're going to open up your image. This isn't something that you have to use in your final, but it is something that you should know because we're going to be using it for future techniques. So I will get rid of all these things and show you what I was working with. So I had my image, I had this group, and I had another kind of layer on top of there. All of those things are great, and if they're not distracting to you, then you can keep them. Otherwise, you can turn the visibility off so you can just focus on one thing at a time. Like I said, I'm going to be replacing the sunglasses on my person. So first thing is I select the layer of the image I'm working off of. So I'm selecting the photo layer, and then I'm going to add a layer on top of this. And I know that I'm going to be replacing my sunglasses, so just so I know, I'm going to name this sunglasses clipping. And so essentially I'm going to draw out where I want those like jellyfish or whatever image I'm going to do to appear. And they're going to only appear in those areas. So first I have to draw them. So like I said, I'm going to take the lenses of these and I need to kind of color in whatever area I want to. First, I'm going to pick a color that stands out to me or would look good to me. So I like working in this kind of purple color. It's very different from like the yellow of the skin and all of that that's happening there. And then I'll go in and I'll pick a brush that has kind of a harder edge to it. So like I said, I like to go into painting, and then I personally like to pick the round brush. And I'm going to just color inside here. So there are multiple ways that you can color and fill things in. One of them is just to go for it. So the easiest way probably is to just kind of go around your object, depends on how complicated it is, and then you're going to just fill that in with the pen. That was easy, especially because I have a very simple shape. Another way that you can fill in color is you can go around an outline. And then up at the top you have like a color dragger or like a color picker. So this menu right here, if I click on that dot. So if I take that dot and I kind of drag from it, so that dot right there, I hold it and I can drag it and drop it in there. And that will drop some color in for me. Sometimes that doesn't work very well. You have to be careful with how fast you pick it up. And you do want to be careful because it'll bring out this slider called the threshold. You can kind of play with that because sometimes it leaves gaps. So now I've filled in my color. Some areas are kind of hard to do, and I don't want you to spend forever trying to like draw out these kind of edges. So if you remember, we have our select tool. So if I click at my select tool at the top, make sure that you're on freehand and that you hit add. There is an option called color fill. So there's add, remove, invert, copy, paste, feather, save and load, color fill, and clear. So if I hit on color fill, it'll do, once I'm done outlining everything, it will fill it in for me. So I'll show you what that looks like with it off first, and then I can still hit it later. So in my select tool, I'll go around. You remember these kind of dots that we used to cut out the background earlier? This is how I'm going to use them to help me fill things out. So I'm going to go back all the way to my end, And notice that the diagonal lines haven't gone through yet. So I have to click on that gray dot. And now my lines are back. Remember that I can remove parts if I feel like I added too much. And then I can add things back in if I need to by hitting the add. Now that everything is selected in the sunglasses, I can just go take my brush, make it kind of big and fill it in. That's really easy. You can also click and drag and drop in that color. Or again, if you hit on the select tool and you hit color fill, it'll already do that for you. So whatever way you want to fully color in the areas you don't like or that you want to mask off. So it looks kind of strange right now. I have drawn in the sunglasses and I'm on that layer. So I'm not on my photo figure. If there's anything that I need to kind of edit or perfect, then I'm going to go back, oops, kind of make my brush a little smaller for details. And I'm going to clean those out to make that look nice. I can also erase if I want to erase and make those look a little bit more accurate. So there is my clipping mask. But now I want to fill that in with another image. So in those like round things for the sunglasses, I want to put my image in there. So I'm going to go into my layers, make sure that the sunglass clipping is the one that's selected, and you're going to make a layer on top of this. In this layer, I'm going to paste in the image that I want in the sunglasses. So I'm going to go here into my actions menu, that little wrench tool, hit on add, insert a photo just like we always do. I still have my collage image album here, and I can pick from this set what I'd like to put in the background. I think today I will put in these clouds. So this picture of a sunset is right here. It's really big right now and it's covering my glasses, so it's covering that area. It's kind of large, but I'll show you how to resize it. I like to start out kind of larger and work with the image after. So if I go into my layers, you can see that layer 10 is some sunset clouds, so I'll rename that again to keep organized. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to create the clipping mask. So I'm going to click on where it says clouds and it will pop out this menu. So we have rename, select, copy, fill layer, clear, alpha lock, mask, and then there's clipping mask. So those are two very different things. So I'm going to hit on clipping mask. And you see this arrow is appearing and it points downwards at my sunglass clipping. And now you can see that the clouds appear in the actual glasses. Right now, that's a pretty cool picture. I wouldn't mind if it looked like that, but I have that whole image to pick from. So I can click on my clouds layer still. I can hit the transform tool and I can move it around all I want to, and notice that it just stays inside of the glasses. You can also resize things, so if I want a little bit more of that image in there, then I can resize it so that I can see quite a bit of it instead of just a little portion. As long as it's covering the whole glasses, so I don't want to go over the edge like this, then I'll be able to choose what I want to work with without worrying. So find a good spot that's kind of interesting to you. And then once you're done, you can just go back in. And that's how to create a clipping mask. So the clipping mask and the clouds, I kind of like them now, and I would like to group them together so that I don't get confused. So remember, I can select both of those layers. I just swipe from left to right, or I can hit on my clouds menu and I can hit combine down, and that will create a new group for me. So the clouds layer, because it's a clipping mask, will always follow where the sunglass clipping is. So for example, if I move the clipping layer down, or that down, do you see that it's moving kind of with it? So wherever it is, if I move it all the way to the top up here, my actual layer isn't with it. So my clouds are all the way down here and they're not in the circles at all. So you have to make sure that that clipping mask is just right on top of the layer that you drew your stuff into. So now that they're grouped together, I can move them and they'll happen kind of at the same time. And I can rename that, and this will be my sunglasses clipping group. You can play around and see if there's other images that you like instead. So if instead of clouds I want to try something else, I can go add a new layer, insert a different photo. Let's say this time I'll do some cute flowers. This is a pretty small photo, so I'm not going to size it up too much, but I'll put it on there. Again, it's in front because it's not a clipping mask, but anything that's like above the clipping mask, you can hit it and you can set it to be a clipping mask. So it'll go on top of the clouds and it'll follow this one right here. If I move this layer, so this one I'm going to rename flowers. Why not? If I move this layer and take it out, it's no longer a clipping mask. Also, I cannot make it into a clipping mask. I can't select that since it's not grouped in that same group. So I'm going to have to move this down first. And now it can be a clipping mask again. And I can kind of move that as I need to get an image that I really like. I think I liked my first one more, so I'll stick with that. That's how you do clipping masks. Now, you can always change out the clipping mask if you need to. So let's say I wanted the whole glasses, not just the inside of them, to be masked. I can pick that same layer. I can kind of get rid of this if that's distracting me, but I can still go in and I can add more to this if I want to. And again, as long as our image is big enough, that should be completely possible. So I'll go and select the rest of that, fill it in, and you'll see now that my clouds take up the whole thing. So anywhere that you mask, so as long as you're in that masking layer, the one that you're using to reference down, you can do whatever you want to it. You can keep drawing and the clouds will follow that drawing. You can erase and it'll be erased. So play around with clipping masks until you get the look that you want.